Okay, so SAP work process administration part here. So as part of the work process administration, so yesterday we discussed about the dialogue work process. Dialogue work process here. So dialogue work process. So dialogue work process is so responsible for taking the user request from dispatcher and processing the user request. Taking and processing the user request. So then after that, we update work process here. Update, so work process. So what is the use of the update? So dialog we discussed, which means SM50, SM66. So what are the status of the work process? Status in SM50 we can see, right? So can anyone? So tell me what is the status of the work process? How many statuses we have?
Like waiting, running,
Okay,
Please
sleep,
stop.
start,
Error.
error,
right,
preview, home.
right. So if the work process are not in waiting status, what will happen?
So it means we can handle free to handle, like we can use.
No, work process are not in the waiting status. It's not in the waiting status. So if the work process are running status, means other than waiting, it will not pick up the user request. If the work process are in waiting status, it will pick up the user request. If not in the list, not in the waiting, so then if all are running or stopped on failure, it will not pick up any user request, which means we cannot log into the SAP system. Even we will not get the SAP screen. Why? Because here dialog work processor main, it will process the your user request. It will pick up the user request. Dialog work processor responsible for to pick up the user request here. If the nothing is available, then so nothing is available means nothing is free, then we cannot log in, cannot log into the systems yet. Okay, so that is the dialogues. So in the dialogue mode, user is logged into the system, then he is doing the transaction, the updates will be generated, right? So then update work process is responsible to update the records into DB table level. DB level, it will update the records. So the transaction code for the SM13 and SM14 for the update work process. So update work process, normally user login to the system, and we will do the some company code adjustments, some fields adjustments, order saving, something we will do it. So but if the update is not working, then what will happen? The whatever the changes he has done, the changes will not be saved into the database level. Database level, it will not be saved it. Then SAP will not commit the transaction. Suppose example SM13. Here we can see the updates. If any, just check the today or tomorrow. Just remove the date. Just remove the date here from date and to date. Just click on the OK button and see are there any updates failed. Yes, we have the one update failed. 505 client SAP star and date and time. We have the one update record got failed here. So select it. We can repeat the update, right? But because during that time, maybe our colleagues are practiced, I think. So it got failed here, right? So if you repeat it, that will be processed. That will be processed here. Sometimes that records will be processed here. So if not, sometimes what happens? If already error is there, already the entry is there, already is done the one more way and it got inserted, then that time we may face the duplicate insertion, means the update was cancelled. So something is missing. Something like that, you will get the error message here, right? You will get the error message here. So we can clear or we can progress the the failed one. Just we can reprocess the failed update work process here, failed update records here. As part of the our day-to-day activity, if any updates are failed, if the updates are failed, here we can reprocess the failed updates. We can reprocess the failed updates. We can reprocess it here. Okay, so that is the one thing we can do it here. But so here, if the update, the failed updates or cancelled updates, we can see it in the SM13. If we go to the SM14, here we can check the whether your update is active or not, right? Suppose if the update got deactivated, right? If the update got deactivated, now now try to now what you will do, just to try to so do the some adjustment. Okay, let's I'm trying to do the some adjustments here. I'm trying to doing the some adjustments here. Suppose like I'm trying to create the one user, some company code or user, some fields. Suppose like I'm trying to create the one user here. So here DDIC. So suppose like I'm trying to create it here. Okay, already exist. Let me try to create the basis one. Okay, so what I am doing, I'm trying to save it here. I'm trying to save it here. So here, what I'm doing, I'm trying to save it here, right? Just click on the save it. So what happened? I have done the changes. When I'm trying to do the changes here, but the changes will not be saved. Why? Because you can see update is delayed. Wait, which means what I did is I have inactivated the update work process. Means I have forcefully stopped the update. Which means now what will happen? Update responsibility is to update the records, to update the user records into the table level. So now what is happening? You have deactivated, which means update got stopped. Means update will not do the carry out the update related process here. Update will not process the update related process here. So now, so it's doing the, see here, it's delayed waiting. So your record is not getting saved. Your record is not getting saved here, right? So what's happening here? Your work process is dead, means one of your family member work process got dead here, which means so whatever the work process responsibility, so that is not doing the work, which means update is not doing the work. What is the work? To updating the records into table level. So that is not doing here, right? That is not doing here. So when it comes to the active, now you can see it here, you can see it here. When you go to the SM13, now you can see the one record in the here, one record in the here. So now you can see the record in the here. So one record got stuck, which from the 000 DDIC user with SE01 transaction code, it is processed. V1 processed, but it's not saving. It's not saving here, right? So which means you can see here, why? Because why it's not saving means update got delayed. You stopped the update forcefully. Now what I will do here, I will go to the SM14. I just will activate it. If I activate it immediately, then when I immediately go to the here, now this record will be saved here. You see, the record will get saved here. See here, the record will get saved. So if you wait for some time, immediately it will pick up the work. Now you will get the message like your transaction has been created, your user has been created, your record has been saved. So you see your user got created here, which means whatever the changes you are doing, that changes are saved. First, it will save into the database level. So when the update is inactive status, it's not saved. But now you see the entry here. If you go to the SM13 entry, so SM13 entry, you see here, so nothing, zero. Previously we have the one record. Now it's a zero records, which means it got processed. It got processed here, which means update work process is responsible for, responsible for, to processing the, data, to processing the user records here, right? So here you can see status. So cancelled means the update record got cancelled status here. You can see the update. So cancelled status means, so here updates are cancelled. The updates are cancelled processing here due to some errors or something. It got cancelled here, right? So to be prepared, to be updated, means it's to be processed or to be updated. So it's waiting to be updated. Means transaction is not still completed. It's waiting to be updated here. So V1 means V1 processed, V1 executed means here. So it's a, so all the critical here what will happen, the V2 phase. So which means the initialization phase is completed, then it has to forward it to the V2. But there is no V2 means V2 work process to update here. So this is the one, means initial processing is done, then it will give it to the V2 executed. So if the work process is V1 processed, means initial processing is done, but in between your update got cancelled. Your update work process failed, which means, so here it will show like, so V2 here V2, the V2 V2 means critical updates, high priority, all will comes under the V1. Low priority updates, system will decide, that will comes under the, so V2 processing here, V2 status here, it will come into the picture here, V2 status here, right? Automatically the work process, update work process, it will search the all the update request with initialization, it will check it out here. Then it will, so it will passes to the, it will process in the, once the transaction is there, if the work process is active, then it will process the, your request. Your request will be processed here. Your request will be processed here, right? So V1, so you can see it here. And instead of that one, normally we will select all just to see the here. Are there any status related? All the status related work process status will be showed here, right? So all the work process related status, it will show here, right? So that is the one thing here, right? So actually, when the update request created, but not been completely processed, just created, but it's not been processed, then so the status should be in the initial status here. But there is a error occurred in while creation itself, while creating the phase itself, then that is the error status here. So V1 means you see that here, right? V1 status here, V1 status. So V1 status means the initial phase, the initial phase has been successfully completed. Then the V2 modules are being passed to the other processing, other further processing. It will pass us to the V1 processed, then it will send it to the other V2 processing. So then if there is no V2 process, update no longer appears, there is no V2, so update is dead, then here is the V1 processed, something like that we will get, right? So it is created, initial request has been created, but while saving, it will send it to the V2, but V2 is dead. V2 means our main work process is dead. Then in this case, here V1 processed only. V2 processed means V2 modules has been processed successfully, but still there is a some work has to be carried out. So there is no collection processing. So then that time V2 processed status. V2 processed means everything is gone. Everything is gone. So it's waiting for the sum of dependencies. It will process. V1 means V1 processing means, so V1 processing means initial request has been created, then it will send it to the V2. If the V2 is dead, V2 dead means your update work process is dead. Then in this case, what will happen? So then immediately your request will be failed. It will stuck into the in this status only. So you don't need to worry about the status here. The only thing is here you need to check it out. Are there any failed entries? Only we need to concentrate on the error status entry, errors. That is only one thing we need to stick here. Error occurred means so update work process errors. So update having some issues, update cannot be repeated, update having some issues. So some data issues, some transactions issues here. So it will go to the error status here. The only status which we have to look at the error status. The status should be error. Those things we need to take it out. So what if any update request got stuck, then we need to repeat that update. We need to repeat that update. We need to select it. Then we have to click the update so that the update will be reprocessed. The transaction will be processed again that time. Okay. Until then, the update got stuck here. The user cannot see the changes here. User cannot see the changes here. Right. Sometimes what happens, normally in the day to day, our use case also, what will happen immediately one person, you done the bank transfer, but immediately it will not be reflected, right? Immediately it will not be reflected. So it may take the 1 hour, 2 hours, it may take some time, right? Why? Because the updates will get delayed. Updates will get delayed due to the system load and everything. Sometimes during the business hours, the updates get delayed here. So sometimes immediately it will reflected, sometimes not due to the system issues and the server issues, everything. So the same kind of behavior here in the update records. So if any, so user in the dialog mode, in the dialog work process means dialog mode user login and user do the transactions. Once he done the transaction or something, it will generate the some records, right? Update records, it will be generated, the transaction related updates. So that update records will be updated by your update work process into DB table level. That is called the update work process. Okay. That transaction codes are SM13, SM14. So you can observe it here. Now we have deactivated and activated here. If we go to the SM21 transaction code, you can just check the logs here. The clearly it will be displayed here. Who unlocked it, who deactivated, who activated here, who terminated again, who terminated the update requires, cancelled update has been processed, who processed 000 this one, then update is terminated by. So here, then again, so update was deactivated manually by which user, DDIC user, at what time. So you can see all the information here, all the information here, who deleted what. So we deleted the update record, right? So who deleted what record, what user. So all the information will be tracked under the SM21 system logs. In the system logs, we can see the all kind of information. We can see it here in the SM21. ST22 runtime errors, right? Runtime errors. Let's see, are there any runtime errors also? Day-to-day transactions. If any issues in the SE system, always we have to go to the SM21, SM22. See, yesterday there is a, yesterday there is some runtime errors. So it's a timeout, illegal timeout local collection. So which means the timelines are not correct. The time zone is not correct here. The time zone is not correct here. It's 8:36 p.m. here. It's not correct here. So that's the reason illegal time zone. We need to correct the time zones, either operating system level or SAP level. We should correct the time zones here, right? So like that, we may get the errors here, right? That is about the update work process here, right? So the next one is called the Enqueue. Enqueue here. Enqueue is the locking mechanism. Locking mechanism here. The locking mechanism. The transaction code for the Enqueue is SM12. SM12 is the transaction code for the Enqueue locking mechanism here. Locking mechanism here. So SM12. So here, normally, whenever you are doing the transaction, suppose you are doing something, here client name is star, here we can put it out empty, just click on the OK button. If any lock entries, it will be displayed here. Any lock entries, it will be displayed here. So what exactly it mean? What exactly it mean here, the lock entry here? Suppose Example, here, example, I will show you one thing here. So this is the bus ticketing, right? Window seats, all the window seats available. Here is the one of the user, here one of the user here. So both are independent, they don't know each other, but they are trying to book the same window seat is trying to book it out, right? So he is also trying to book the same window seat. In between, the first person. Why? Because first in, first out. Who is the first login to the system? That is the first person. The request will be allocated, right? So immediately, system will will log by this user. Then this seat is not available for other users. It is still being processing by the other users, right? So you cannot process it here. You cannot process the transactions here. You cannot process the transactions here, right? So that is the update. Why? Because same ticket, if the both persons are booking, then definitely there is a issue, right? Same ticket, if the both persons are processing, definitely there is a issue, right? One seat we cannot book the two persons, right? So that's why system also will decide, system will lock your transactions until you log out from the system. This is the outside of the system behavior, right? In the coming to the SAP system, in the SAP, whenever you log into the system, then whenever you log the one of the transaction, suppose like you are trying to edit the one of the company table entries, you are editing here. So one more person also is also trying to edit the same table. It will give the error messages. It will give the error message saying that this table already locked by the one person. So you have the only read only access, like that. You will get the updates here. You will get the updates here, right? You will get the updates here, right? That is the error message he will get from here, right? So example, if you see here, locking until you end the transaction, you will face it here. Suppose I am going to one of the logon entry I am going to create in the SAP system. Just you will get this transaction also. I am going to edit it, but I am not doing anything. But there is a one more person is also trying to create the same entry. So just SMLG, then you will get the message saying that, so boss, so already the currently the table already locked by the user, you have only display access, which means so one more person is already doing locked by the transaction. So we have only display access here, right? In other screen, I locked that one. I'm just doing the some work here. I'm doing the some work here, right? So I'm doing the some work here. While doing this some work, then other person cannot do anything here, right? Why? Because it's locked. It's locked here. You cannot do any changes here. You have only display access here. You have only display access here. So what is happening here? When you are editing, your throughout the your transaction will be locked. Your transaction will be locked in the system. You will get the lock entries here. You will get the lock entries. So he is the, you can see 000 DDIC when it was locked, and what is the mode of the lock, and what is the table name, what is the argument. So all the information will be tracked here. All the information will be recorded here. All the information will be recorded here, right? All the information will be recorded here. So that's what we can see it here. That's what we can see it here, right? So that's what we can see it here, right? So that's what we can see it here in the SM12 transaction. Once you done it, until you complete, until you end the transaction, this lock entry will be stay here only. Why? Because here Enqueue server, Enqueue means which is available in the your ASCS instance. Enqueue server is taking care. Enqueue server is taking care of the this work here. Enqueue server is taking care of the this work here. So until you end the screen, your work will be like this only. So suppose I have completed my work, then what I am doing here? So then here you just go to the here, just click on the copy, you save it, you have done the your work, then come out of the screen. Then you see here a lock entry. When I open lock entry, all the lock entries are gone. Refresh, all the lock entries are gone. Because your your data, whatever you are trying to create, that is gone. That is gone means that is completed. So yes, other users can go and use it here, right? Lock mode means there are some lock modes here. So exclusive lock, shared locks, like that. There is a lock modes here. So exclusive locks, which means if you go to any one of the transaction code, click on the create button, that, so you will see the lock mode is the exclusive, which means exclusive means, so there are the types of lock argument. If I go more, you will get confused, so you don't need in detailed way. The exclusive means only two things: exclusive, which means, so while while others are editing this table, you will only get the display access here. The system will decide which mode you want to assign, which means while others are doing the same table, you have the access, but it is only display mode only here. Suppose example, you see, so others, in one more person, I done the transaction here, log on group I created here, right? Log on group I created here. I am creating the one group here. Same time exclusive mode, which means I will only get the access to the, so transaction only display is possible. Only display is possible here. So one more thing is here, some lock arguments are shared arguments, shared, exclusive and shared, which means, so same table at the same time multiple people can update it here. Multiple people can update it here. Suppose example, so some of the things here. Suppose I am going to create the one user here. Example, I am going to create the one user here. So user creation, right? So one more thing, one more screen. Let me open the new screen again. Multiple screens we can open it. In the one more screen, what I am doing, I am also going to the SE01. I am also trying to create the user. So but here maintenance of the user is locked by the only one user. So this is also shared lock only. So we go to the SM12. Sorry, this is also exclusive log, right? Why? Because already one person is doing the editing, you are only display access here. So some of the things are the shared one, which means at the same time multiple people can edit it, multiple people can do the work. So some of the thing, that time the lock mode will come as a shared one here. So there are the types, so there are the some types here. So we can go deeply, but you will get confused. You no need in detailed way. That's not required. Okay. So just if any, while doing this one, if any old locks as part of our basis activity, what we have to do, if any lock entries which are older than 24 hours, the threshold is 24 hours. If any lock entry more than 24 hours, then we can delete it. We can take the approval, we can delete it here. Why? Because lock entry means last 24 hours we cannot do anything, right? So which means something is abnormal in the system. So what we have to do, we can just select the lock entry, we can click on the delete, we can click on the delete option, we can do it, right? If any entries are found, so these options we can take it out here. Okay, that is the Enqueue. Enqueue means in the message server. This is available. Enqueue work process is available in the message in the ASCS instance here, right? So sometime so system users you can ignore it. Why? Because if the some entries the users, we have to delete it. If the system users means maybe the job or some internal processing is doing longer time, maybe that time we have to wait till completion of the work. Otherwise, so we may face the issues here. Otherwise, so if we got the approval to delete it, we can delete it. Suppose like workflow users, some jobs related users, some other lock arguments, we can delete it. Only the users lock entries, the users which are older than 24 hours, we can take the approval and we can delete it. So make sure user is not doing anything in the system. It's doing something means, so definitely there is a issue. Means if it is not doing anything, but the still lock entry is there, sometimes what happens, it entry will be stuck. it will be stuck here itself only. So that time you will get the log entries here, log arguments you will find out here. We can delete it so that user can complete one more user can complete the work, right? So that is the Enqueue work process locking mechanism. So here in SAP, each and every work process has their own responsibilities, right? So dialog work process will allow users to log into the SAP system. Then after login to the SAP system, definitely user will do the any one of the transactions. So here, once the user done the transaction after login to the dialog mode, by dialog work process, update work process will take care of the updating the records. So while doing the user work, entire starting of the login screen to the logout screen, then throughout this time duration, so your Enqueue work process will lock your connection, your system here. It will assign the one lock argument to the your request so that you can securely, so you can update whatever you want in the systems, right? So someone already editing, you are trying to edit that transaction, so it will say like it's already locked by the some other person. You can try after some time, like that you will get the messages here. So that is what the Enqueue work process will do, right? So apart from that, so the next one is the background. So before we go with the discussion of the background here, so I would like to so tell you something in the SAP level here. In SAP level, suppose if you want to so run the reports, normally the the programmers will use these transaction codes to create the programs, reports, deletion of the executions, views, anything they, all those things they will perform using the SA38 or SE38 transaction code. Creation of the reports and everything, they will use the SA38 or SE38 transaction codes here, right? SA38 or SE38 transaction codes, they will use it for reports or program creation here, right? So normally they will go to the SE38 or SA38. So then they will develop the programs, custom programs or reports, all those things they will use it. So programs, reports, they will execute it here. Suppose example, one of the report, right? One of the report here. So they will use it here, right? They will use it like this here. So like that they will execute it. This report contains so code, some source code. You can see source code, view the source code. Who will develop this code? Who will write the codes? So the programmers means development team, ABAP team. So they will write this code here. They will write this code in the system here. You can see they have written the this is the they have done it here. This is the lines codes, but we are not responsible for this one. So they will do that one, right? Not only one program, but here we don't have any developers, or how we got it means we can get the programs here in the system by default. Whenever you install the system here, by default we will get the some programs here, right? Those programs starts with the RS or R star programs, which means RS related programs. You will get it out here. So we can execute those programs. Means the results will come. The code will be executed. The results will come here. The results will come into the picture here, right? So that is the one. This is the trigger option, means execute button. The timer button is called the execute button. This is the save button. So if anything you want to save the results, then you can save it here. So it's here the programs are getting compiled here. The programs are getting compiled in the systems here. Okay, so that is the thing of the, so the programs and report executions here. Manually we have to, they will create the programs. Sometimes they may execute it to get the results of the programs. They will take care of the programs and report execution. What are the transaction code means? SE38 or SA38 here, right? In SE38 they can create, they can delete it, they can view, and they can do whatever they want. But SA38 only for the execution only, means the report execution only we will get it out. Suppose if you go to the SA38, they can only execute the program, right? Execute with variants, they can execute it. They don't have any other options here. But here, if you go to the SE38, they will get the option like program option. They can create it also. They can create the new code, but it's required the developer keys, variants, many things they can create it here. This is the ABAP editor screen here for programs and report creation purpose. They will use the SA38 or SE38 transaction codes here. Okay, so that is the transactions. So also, if you want to view the tables data, so at the same time, we want to view the tables are available database level. Then if you want to use the table data, so you can use the SE11 or SE16 transaction codes. These are the basics we should know, right? Tomorrow your manager asked you to execute the one program. That time you should know what is the transaction code and where to execute it. Then you should know about the report and program name. Tomorrow, your manager asked you to get this tables data. Get this table data. This is the table name. Get pull the record data from the SAP level, right? So normally tables means tables means database level it will exist. But here tables data means we can go to the SE11 or SE16. There we can find out the tables data. So if you go to the SE11, right, just get the give the table name, any one of the table name, just USR02. All users will be stored into this table name here. So the data which is coming from the database level it is going and it is giving the response back to the users now here. See here, it is doing the response now. Back and see, whenever you execute each and every screen is the one of the program. Each and every screen is the program in the SAP, right? So the programs are executing in the back end. You see, the programs are executing in the back end here, right? So this is the table fields. Then go to the execute content. I want to know the contents here. So data is getting pulling from the table level, database level. So that's why it's taking some time here. So SE11 to SE16 is for the getting the tables data, weaving the contents from the table. The right word is weaving the contents from table level. What the data is there, what are the records are there in the table level. So those records we are weaving from, we are checking from. So here, but you cannot edit anything here, right? It is getting you are grabbing the data from the table level. Normally, if you need data, what we have to go to the SAP database level. We need to write the queries to get the data, but it's not required. Why? Because database, on top of the database, we have the SAP installed. So in SAP level, we have the options to pull the data that is called the, so SE11 or SE16, you can use it to pull the data from the database level. To pull the data from the database level, we can use it here. Okay. So that is the one here. So that is called the SE11 to SE16. We can pull it out here. Now we can see, so number of entries, how many number of entries are there? Total 5 entries are there in this table, which means 5 users are there in this SAP star DDIC. So these are the 5 users are there in the system here, which means, so these are the users which you created here. Today also we created the one entry. That's why it's showing the today's date, right? Some 28 they have created. So you can see the multiple entries here, right? So which means whatever we do in the SAP level, everything will be stored into the database table level here. If something goes wrong, so then it will not be saved, which means updates having some issues, then data will not be saved into the table level here. So how can we check I want to know this table data, which means you can go to the SE11 or SE16, just you can pull the data, from the table level here. How many entries are there? Just you can pull the data here, just grab the data here, right? So that is the tables data and programs and report executions. We have to do it in the SA38 or SE38. Program means the set of instructions which normally the developers will do. The program means the set of instructions and everything, set of instructions, codes, lines, programs, and everything they will execute, they will create it. Then they will ask us to execute sometimes, or they will only do that one, right? So the programs here, right? So suppose there is a one button. Suppose customer interested to know the some refresh button here. Then in this case, to get the refresh button, they have to write the one code, right? They have to write the code. So then writing the code, they can do that one. So if you execute that program, the refresh button will come. Whenever you click on the refresh button, the table contents will be refreshed. So then each and everything is backend is the one program, the program which is executing by them only. The program which they are executing here by them only, here they have to execute it here, right? So that is the programs and reports, that programs and the tables data here. So why I told you these are the general transaction codes. When we are discussing about the work process, normally we need to discuss about the some general daily monitoring transaction codes also, which like, so we have discussed about the SM50, SM66, SM13, SM14. Then we have discussed about the ST22, then SM21, then SICK, right? So these are the transactions we discussed, right? So now, so let's discuss about update SM13, SM update also, Enqueue SM12 also we discussed, right? So these are the up to here we discussed these transactions and their usage also here, right? Tomorrow someone asks you, I want to, so can you please deactivate the update due to some security issue? Means definitely you have to go to the SM14, you need to deactivate it. So can you check the how many dumps are generated in the today in the SAP system? That time you should know, right? Dump means ST22, runtime error, right? So then in this case, you should know all those things here. So now let's talk about the one more work process, the background jobs, background work process, BTC work process. Okay, so shall I explain or will you guys practice? Because background work process, it will take much time. So shall I explain the next work process or will you guys practice all this, whatever we discussed till now? Okay, okay, you can practice it, no problem. Initial things you need to practice more. Also, also, yeah, okay. Many members till now we will practice. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So also, what you need to do, suppose in your logon pad, just configure the entry here. Just go to the here options here. Just to add the CXML file. CXML file, you can map it here. So sometimes I see people are saying that, so there are maybe